So one of the features we got super excited about in the new Apple Podcast announcement that just came out is channels. We got all these ideas of how we're gonna use it, how we're gonna group shows together and create these little networks, and it was gonna be awesome. And then we talked to Apple and realized it was none of those things, and it's actually much different. So in this video, we're gonna walk through exactly what channels are, what they aren't, and whether you'll be able to utilize it for your podcast.
Here we go.
So if we look at Apple's official marketing page, talking about all the wonderful stuff that just came out, we see that channels are a simple way for you to group your shows. And down here on the image, you can actually see examples of how this is gonna look. So you can see the National Geographic channel, this Tenderfoot channel, and the Luminary channel, all within the different tiers of subscriptions. If you're curious how the new subscriptions model is working within Apple Podcasts, make sure that you check out the video here on the cards or in the description, where we went into a full deep dive of the different kinds of podcasts Apple now is bringing into their app. And so it looks really cool. You're gonna have a nice banner image, an icon, a graphic. You can link episodes, shows, really create a nice curated experience for your listeners. And in fact, they tell you, you can build a unique brand around your channel with logo, artwork, a description. It sounds awesome, right? And it even shows a quote unquote free channel here on the graphic. But here's the key. Each show has its own benefits and the channel can be unlocked with a single purchase. But when we got on the phone with Apple and we asked them directly, can you have multiple free podcasts in a single channel? They said no. You can have free content within a channel, but channels are unlocked with paid subscriptions. So if you wanna create a channel like this, there needs to be paid content, either freemium content or paid content somewhere in the channel. Because the way that the channels are set up and the way that the subscriptions really work is that rather than just unlocking individual shows, listeners have the opportunity to unlock entire channels, very similar to how TV channels work, right? So if you wanna get CBS All Access, you gotta pay for that subscription. If you wanna get HBO Max, you gotta pay for that monthly subscription. And they're all line items in your bank account, but you have to buy them all separately, especially now that everybody is cord cutting and nobody really has cable TV anymore. And so this works in a very similar fashion, that if you want all of the Luminary shows, if we're looking at the example here on the screen, you pay one monthly subscription to get all the content in this channel. And that content is not available outside of that paywall as that paid content. So what does this mean for independent creators? This means that channels can be a really useful feature if you have multiple shows that are paid that are not available for free. Or if you are doing freemium content where you have bonus episodes, you have ad-free versions of your episodes, you're doing behind the scenes content, uncut or unedited content that your listeners want access to, and they're willing to pay for it, then you can create a channel, okay? So this is not gonna be for the majority of podcasters, at least at this point. I mean, fingers crossed, hopefully Apple opens it up and we can use it as essentially a way to create your own podcast network within Apple Podcasts. But until then, this is how Apple wants us to use it. So why would Apple do that? Why would Apple create this awesome feature and then make it so restricted that it's not really applicable to most podcasters? Well, that's because the new channels feature is perfect for podcast networks and for companies and groups that previously have tried creating their own apps that have premium content behind a paywall. Think Luminary, think Stitcher Premium, think the Wondery standalone app, those kind of apps. Apple is essentially saying, hey, you have these really awesome shows. We have a bunch of listeners. Why don't you just put those shows here in Apple Podcasts and you can collect the subscription that way directly from your listeners. And then we will get a nice 30 to 15% cut from those subscriptions. So Apple wins because they're bringing all this exclusive premium content into Apple Podcasts. And every time you subscribe to a show, they're making money. And then it's a win for the networks because they no longer have to build their own standalone app and convince people to move off of Apple Podcasts to this new app to listen to these new shows. They can simply go to where their listeners already are and make a subscription that way. So that's really why Apple set up the channels the way that they did. Hopefully in the future, they'll open up some of these toolkits for those of us that just want to have a lot of free podcasts that are connected to each other. But for the time being, this is what channels are, for better or worse, and hopefully now you understand how they work and whether they can potentially work for you in your situation. Now, if you would like to hear a full deep dive of all the announcements Apple just made about Apple Podcasts, we actually just posted a segment of a recent Buzzcast episode here on the channel where we talked about all the new Apple Podcast news. So you can watch that by clicking the link in the description below, or by just clicking this video here on the screen, and you can go watch that segment where we talk about every single announcement, the impact on podcast creators, and how you can take full advantage of all the new things that Apple is rolling out. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, keep podcasting.